Kadosh Boker Tov, we're continuing with halachot of Pesach. We're on Siman Taf Lamed Bet, where Maran says, "Kodem shiatchil livdok," before you're going to do Bedikat Hametz, you're going to do the beracha Shek l'Shem Nitztav Tzivenu al biur Hametz. Remember, the entire purpose is to devour the Hametz, and therefore the Bedikah is only the medium to the ends. So therefore, we do not make the Bedikah on the beracha on the Bedikat Hametz. We do it on the biur of the Hametz. Not only that, what happens if you do the Bedikah and you didn't find anything? So therefore, it's really be'emet, the entire mitzvah is the biur Hametz, to get rid of it. So you are doing the beracha of al biur chametz. Now, if a person, obviously you have to do it beforehand in order that it should be over l'siyatan. If a person forgets the beracha, as long as they are still in the middle of doing the bedikah, as long as they are still in the midst of doing it, they could still make the beracha. But once they finish doing bedikat chametz, that's it, they've lost the beracha. Now, after this, it's brought down also, the Mishnah Berurah brings down that some people say it's good to do netilat yadayim before Bedikat Hametz, and it's mishum nekiyut, and that's also brought down in the Ben Ishchai and the Nim Marshal. It's good to do the netilat yadayim by coming and first touching your feet or touching something, and then coming and doing netilat yadayim, so that way your hands are going to be clean. It's actually even brought down in the Kaf HaChaim, there was an iyan even to do tevilah before Bedikat Hametz. So this to show you exactly where we're going about the nikiyut, or the way that we're doing Bedikat Hametz. Now it says that it's very, very important that a person should be careful not to speak between the beginning of the Bedikah and the Bedikah. You cannot speak to other people or do anything until you finish the Bedikah, which means anything which is, first of all, there's an inyan at the beginning of the Bedikah. Just like at the beginning of the Bedikah, when you come and you make the beracha, immediately you have to start checking. Now it's going to be in the middle of the Bedikah. Also, you cannot even speak in Divrei Torah, which means you cannot even speak Torah in the middle of Bedikat Hametz. However, though, anything which is Sorech, the Bedikah, you're allowed to. So something which is required for the Bedikah, all of a sudden the candle turned out, I cannot find, or I found pieces of Hametz and I have to actually come and get rid of them, or I tell somebody else to come and to check somewhere else. All those things, all of a sudden now what's going to happen is that you have to be careful, again, about how you're speaking. Now, with one beracha, Siv Bet says, with one beracha, you could check many different houses. If the balabait wants, he could come and he could put somebody else beside him when he's making the beracha, and then they come and they split up to different places. Remember that if you yourself, you're not doing the bedikah, your shaliach, your messenger is doing the bedikah, he does the beracha. You do not do the beracha. However, though, what happens now? You've got a few different places to check. You have to check your house. You have to check your office, your cars, right? Your boat, your plane, and everywhere else, or other houses that you have. So now what's going to happen is you have to check all those things. How does it suffice for one person to come and to do all those berikot? So what you could do is that, for example, you're going to check this house, right? So what you do is you make the beracha with your shaliach beside you, and then he already starts driving somewhere else to the other, whether it's your office, whether it's going to be where other places, your other houses, or other places where you're going to check, and then they're going to do the bedikah over there. So that's also going to be very, very important. The Ramah brings down this minhag, which is also based upon the Arizal HaKadosh, to put ptitim, to put 10 pieces of bread. The entire inyan of 10 is Eser Sefirot and other things as well, which is basically you're going to put pieces of bread. One of the main reasons why do we put little tiny pieces of bread was to make sure is that it's never going to be b'rachal v'talah, because you did come and you found chametz. Now, just as a warning, very important that when a person is going to put these pieces of bread, you have to be careful that first of all you're going to put it, right, that each one is less than a kazait, because just in case you lose it, if it's going to be less than 28 grams, so therefore it's not a kazait of chametz. Number two, you're going to wrap it around very properly, so that way it's not going to make crumbs afterwards. But when you wrap it, it's better to wrap it with paper, right? Like, for example, paper towel or things like that. So that way afterwards, when you're going to come and you're going to burn the chametz, you throw it inside and it's directly going to burn. But if you're going to put foil, so then what happens is you throw it into the chametz, the srefat chametz the next day, and then it's not burning because it's in foil. So therefore what you have to do is try to put it in paper towel. You wrap it around, you put tape. Now it's very well, right, like a bonbon. You come, you turn the twist the size. Now that you know that it's very properly done, now you throw it in the chametz, right, in the biur chametz, in the burning. What? You throw it into the biur chametz, and there's not going to be a problem, right? When you're throwing it into the fire to burn the chametz. Now, the third one is write down where you're putting them. Now, again, usually the minhag is that you don't put them. Usually, it's your children that they put them in. They try to stump you. Are you actually paying attention what you're looking or not? So, therefore, just make sure that whoever's putting them around, dispersing them, they write down where there it is. Because many times it has happened afterwards that they call you up, Rabbi, we can't find the thing. So obviously there were 10 pieces, but one of them must have, the mice must have ran off with one of them or whatever, that you can't find them, and now what happens? So make sure that you write down exactly where these 10 pieces of bread are going to be. The Bedikat Hametz has to be done le'or aner. What does that mean? Siman Taf Lamed Gimel says, when you're doing the Bedikat, you can't just use the moonlight or anything else. You have to use a candle. Now, you're not allowed to use an avuka. Avuka is going to be a torch, because if it's going to be such a big flame, so then it's going to be dangerous. You're not going to be able to check the cracks and crevices properly. You are allowed to use a flashlight for those places which is difficult. For example, a car. You're not going to take a candle into your car. You don't want to burn your car down, right? Or you're not going to put it beside the tapestry or the curtains or little tiny places under the bed. Certain places you're not going to use a candle. So you use a candle wherever you're going to go. But you also have a flashlight, so that way you're going to use it in places that are going to be dangerous. So you come and you look inside of a cupboard, right underneath the clothing, inside the pockets of the clothing, right? All these things are many times you come and all of a sudden you find whether it's going to be money or candies or other things in the pockets. So a person has to be very careful in all these different places where they're going to be checking in order to understand that first of all you're doing it leor aner. You do not need to turn off the lights, right? You can leave the lights on. The opposite is better. The more light, the better. But you have to do it leor aner with a candle, and you also come and you take a flashlight so that way you're able to come and check on all the places which are going to be dangerous.